All right, we're back with She Talks a Lot. We're gonna do it again. So I'm
Hey.
super excited. We're gonna keep talking about anxiety, and I'm gonna ask Lauren some questions and get her story on kind of what she went through and what it looked like and how she's still walking through it. So the first question is, what has been your biggest anxiety?
So the biggest anxiety I ever faced was when I got pregnant with number five. The Lots of different things happened. One, I had just started questioning a lot of my faith stuff, and that's another topic for another day because it is a lot. Um, but my faith had started unraveling. My marriage was finally on an upward trajectory, but we were still not great. Um, and we got pregnant after a year, 15 months of very successfully family planning, like natural family planning
Mm,
stuff. So we were actively trying not to get pregnant, and we got pregnant. Um, and pregnancy had never been something I loved, but I had always had this like, well, I believe in the creator, and it's this divine dance that I get to co-create with him. And when that like anchor wasn't there for me,
mm,
I despised the fact that I was pregnant and hated that I was in that situation. Had a ton of guilt and shame because I was already a mom to four other kids and loved being
yeah.
a mom.
Yeah.
And so the fear of a fifth, the fear of, I mean, people's responses, because we had already gotten all the looks of like, you have four boys, can't you all be done? Um, Or, "Oh, don't you hope this one's a girl? If it's not a girl, are you gonna be sad?" I'm like, "I'm already sad that I'm pregnant. Thank you." Like, you're not actually helpful.
Oh, I know sometimes I say stuff like that, so I try not to get like, "Wow," but wow. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't mean to say it, and then when
No,
I
I
say
and
but it's like, "Oh, man. Oh, why did you open your mouth, dummy?"
well, and we all say things in moments, and I don't think it's
Yes.
bad. Um, but, like, whenever we found out he was a boy, because I had such high anxiety, I was like, "Well, maybe if we know the gender,
Mhm,
it'll help me connect because that's helped in the past,
mhm.
so we can name them and do all the stuff." And, when I was pregnant with number four, it was the first time I'd ever wanted a girl.
Okay.
Up until that point, I was like, I'm totally fine being a boy mom. And I was pregnant with number five. I was like, dear God, please no girls. Please no girls.
Mm,
And so as soon as we found out, like, when I was due, so we could, like, go get, like, a 3D,
yeah,
just, like, pay in advance so we can get the
yep, all the
picture.
things.
Yeah, as soon as possible. And I found out it was a boy. It was like a wave of relief because it was like, okay, I've done boys four other times. How can it be that much harder? He'll end up being deaf.
I'm trying not to
but
I'm trying not to give it away.
that's okay. It works out. But the whole pregnancy was just really brutal. And now what I have to deal with that anxiety that I had then
Mm,
is grappling with the fact that I had it throughout his pregnancy and like releasing it over and over. And like the belief that like I caused his deafness because I spoke
mm,
death over my body while I was pregnant, because I wished him away or I did. And so it's like, well, now this is my punishment, like
yeah,
all those things. And so like I have to actively like remind myself that's not true. Like
yeah,
that's not how the creator works. That's not how biology works.
yeah,
Like it's just not.
yeah. It's how
Uh,
the enemy works
yeah,
toward us to hurt us, so
yeah. So that was probably my biggest, and has been now. Like it looks different than it did when I was
uh-huh,
pregnant, but that's the like thread.
it's still the same thing. So with, like, the anxiety of having a 5th, and then it's now he's 3 now, and y'all have a lot of answers for, like, he's deaf, and you've got a bunch of your resources, like, working together. The anxiety, is it more like a guilt and shame? anxiety, or is it like a? Because I mean, I get anxious for my kids all the time, so I can
Yeah,
understand. But it's like it never left you. It stayed
yeah. I mean,
the whole
there's
time, but transitioned.
yeah, I think there's definitely guilt and shame. And like last year around this time, there was a ton of guilt and shame. Like
Mm,
I was still like crippled by it often.
mm,
I don't necessarily have the same crippling of like, oh my gosh, but like I realized this weekend I sent my mom a text message and it was gonna be this like short little like, hey look, and I have a mini mic for his processor, so he has unilaterally implanted,
okay,
and it's a mic that I get to wear, and so my voice will be like directly into his head
nice.
if I'm in like Bluetooth range of his processor. And so I sent her a picture of that, and I was like, I don't know why it's so hard for me to start new technology. Like we got implanted in June and activated in July. Like, why have I
Yeah.
not used this yet? Except for the fact that I get scared of technology. And but I'm writing this out, and I go, maybe I haven't used it because if I mess it up and he doesn't succeed, it's on me.
Mm,
And I realized like I had all this anxiety of using all of our resources because he may or may not choose to be oral. He may or may not take to it, like, because physically he may not be able to.
yeah,
And so if I just don't do it all, then we can blame me instead of his biology or his choices.
yeah.
And so I'm realizing like I even have anxiety there of like,
Fear of failure.
yeah, fear of failure for him, fear of failure for me,
Yeah.
because how my kids are reflects on me, like, or at least
Yeah.
that's the belief we have.
That's yeah, then yeah, that's a weird one too. 'Cause it's like at a certain point, like you said, it's his choice. If he chooses, and we've talked about this just
Right.
recently about like if he chooses to fully immerse in the deaf community and not utilize his implants, that is his choice. It's not a failure on your end, but it's still that like I was fortunate enough to grow up with a grandmother who was she was going to school to be a interpreter. So like
Mhm.
we learned about the deaf community just by being with her, not for any reason other than that. So like I feel fortunate to know that it's like a whole thing. Like being deaf and hearing like there's
Yeah.
like some great divides that happen in the community. Um and I know you know that. So it's like I can imagine that there's like a fear of not letting your deaf son be deaf
Oh yeah, there's
or
fear.
not using all your resources and making him a hearing kid and like fully verbal and you would never know unless it's like this weird like
It's yeah, and the older generation for sure has this very like hard line.
mm,
And so the fear of like the different voices, the people in the deaf community telling me how to handle things, the hearing parents of deaf children who have opinions,
mm,
and then like your care providers, like
yeah,
surgeons, therapists, audiologists who all have opinions. And and feeling like no matter which way I turn, I'm gonna piss someone off.
yeah. Well, and right now he's 3, so it's him that you're pissing off because he's 3.
Yeah, usually.
Like that's like the nature of a 3-year-old is no, my neighbor was out with his 2-year-old and he has an orange. And I was like, "Oh, do you like oranges?" She said, "Nope, he doesn't even eat them. He just has to carry it around. It's his thing."
Yep.
And I was like, "Gosh, that is such a toddler thing to like need a random object to
A
be
support
okay."
orange.
Yes, basically. But it's like when he gets older and he can communicate how he what he wants, it'll be nice. But and I feel like people don't take into that into account. Like, what does he want? What does number 5 actually want out of this? Like,
Exactly.
you're setting him up to be able to do both things very well.
And that's the goal.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
hard.
just a learning and the not wanting to mess your kid up, the not wanting to.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's like you went back, like going back to that mic. You were like, "Why don't I do new technology?" I feel like a lot of us don't do the thing that we feel like we need to because if we don't do it, you can't fail at it.
Yep.
But my husband so graciously reminded me that's failure. in a different way.
Yeah.
And
Failure
it's
to try is still failure.
yeah, I'm like, "Dang, bro, come on, man."
Can you just
Um,
be quiet?
yeah, stop being reasonable. Um, so it's transitioned from, like, this fear of having a kid, an additional which did you have that when you went from, like, 1 to 2? Did you have, like, a guilt or, like,
No.
grieve? Okay.
No, and
When
the thing is, so every other pregnancy, Judah was a complete surprise, and so there
would
was,
you
like,
he's
year
number
1.
1? Okay.
So number 1 was a complete surprise. We were, like, 3 months into our marriage. We weren't getting pregnant, like, that wasn't our thing at the time.
Yeah.
And so he was shocked to the system. Number, 2, it was like, well, we already have one, so we're just gonna let God, because at that time we
Yeah.
were in a very hyper spiritual
Yeah.
season of life. 3 was, I mean, it was almost like it could happen, could not happen, whatever.
Yeah.
4 was a shock, but it was like, well, maybe this is like God's redemption plan, and
Mhm. I remember that story.
and so there's that one, and so but again, it was always that thread of like
Yep.
God is orchestrating our family.
Yep.
And so I really think it was the taking the God element out for me
Okay.
that added to the like, what the heck is actually
Yeah.
happening right now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can barely handle the 4 that I have, and now I have a 5th on the way. Our marriage had been rough, and like we had lost all community at that point. And those
Mm.
were all stories for other times
Yeah, for
of
sure.
like how that happened and why that happened.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't have any community, and like I met you. I had like one other friend local at that time that I was hanging out with consistently. Um,
Mhm.
but a lot of my friends are like online,
Yes.
or like someone I know and I love. And actually, the shirt that I'm wearing and the mug that I'm drinking out of are
Nice.
from her,
Aw.
but she lives in Wyoming. We've been best friends since 2009, but you know, Texas, Wyoming, we're not really close to each other.
No, they're not like, a reasonable road trip.
No, but she is. I mean, it was her birthday party or her birthday weekend when we found out I was pregnant with number 5.
Oh
So
my god.
and I told her, I was like, I don't want this. And she's like, I'll be excited for you. Like,
Yeah.
I, this is my birthday gift. I'm thrilled. Like, this is going to be an
Yay.
exciting,
Yeah.
good thing. And so every time I would be like, I can't do this, she'd be like, you can. It's going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He's a gift. It's, gonna be worth it. It's true. Like and the thing is, as soon as he was in my arms, it
Oh, yeah.
really took until he was in my arms. But as soon as he was in my arms, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like
That
you're mine.
you're mine. I'll keep you.
I grew you for like, I don't know. He was like 10 days late, longer. I grew you a
Yeah,
really
you
long time,
yeah.
but it wasn't until you were in my arms that I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's man, so I was gonna ask how long have you been struggling with this, but it's been since you found out about him, so
Yeah, I
4
literally
years.
hid in the closet while my best friend and her sister-in-law slept, crying and
Mm,
journaling, going like, why? Like, what is this? Why were there 2 lines on that stick? Like,
yeah. Having to, like, grieve a whole thing.
yeah,
Well, because like you said, number 4 felt like he kinda was he was the redemption. It was the end piece.
he's the end piece. And like, I had just finished nursing him at the end of
Mm,
August, and we found out we were pregnant at the beginning of December. So I had been pregnant and or nursing
mm.
since the beginning of 2011.
Ooh.
And this was the end of 2018. So like I literally hadn't stopped. And so I finally weaned number 4.
Mm.
Had like 3 months. And I was like, oh, number 5. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
sure. And now
That's
I'm starting
amazing.
number 5.
That's impressive to be
3.5 years.
nursing. It really does impress me to be nursing that long because that's a different level of commitment. Like, I nursed.
It was not intentional.
Laurel was like, "We're done." this is overrated.
Yeah.
So I guess when they're done, they're done.
Yeah. Like I hadn't intentionally weaned anyone until number 4. The others
Okay.
had weaned themselves. Um, Number 4, it was like, I mean, he was almost 2. I was like, "You're fine. Like, you don't need this anymore."
Yeah.
He'll now, like, occasionally ask for it. I'm like, "Dude," because he would be my baby. Like, he's that, like, "I'll crawl back up into your womb, mom. Can we just hang out?" Like, type of kid.
That's
Uh,
so funny.
yeah. But number 5, I mean, because he's deaf, like, I didn't know how to take away nighttime comfort. Like, we had
Mm,
talked about weaning him before we found out he was deaf, but we didn't find out until he was, let's think, it was 21. He would have been
mm,
18 months,
mhm.
19 months ish when we finally realized he was deaf.
That was at 4th of July, right? I don't wanna, share
It was
the
the
story.
summer, like, yeah, it was like around that time because it was official diagnosis. Like, we started questioning late May, early June.
Okay.
Um, and so to and we went to the pediatrician. We did, and they're like,
Yeah.
we did this, and so our bump up ENT audiologist appointment was in July.
Okay.
So that's yeah.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that was July, and so he would have turned 2 in August.
Oh, man, and
So
so
yeah, he was almost 2 when we realized, and so now he's 3.5, and it's like, well, you really don't need a nurse anymore, but it's dark at night, you can't hear,
mm.
and
I've
his
never even thought about that. Like, that all in and of itself. But he's never not known that. That's all
right.
it's like for us, for you to put it that way, it's like, it's dark and you can't hear, like, the comforting sounds,
Yeah,
like, that you're home or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, there is no,
Mm,
like, singing a lullaby or shushing or,
mm.
you know, all the things. Uh,
is he a hard one to put down to bed?
oh, yeah.
Do you think it's because of his deafness?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Like you just said, you can't shush him, you can't do sound machines, you can't
yeah,
audibly comfort them.
yeah, and he doesn't really sleep through the night still.
Hmm.
Um, I It was a couple weeks ago, we got, like, 3 out of 5 nights he slept through the night, and that was the first time ever
Wow.
that it was that much.
Whew. I mean, I have friends who have hearing kids who don't sleep through the night. I mean, Laurel doesn't. She still struggles with sleeping through the night. So,
Yeah, when we had him, my number 3 and number 4 still woke up, and so his first 6 months of life, I was having 3 different kids wake
oh
up.
my gosh. No, my gosh.
Yeah.
See, and that's like where the big family piece comes in. And I'm like, absolutely not. You are a saint. Because if one kid wakes me up, I'm like, why do I even have children? Which is so cruel, but it's true. Sometimes I'm like, I get so helpless when I don't have sleep. So I'm
Yeah.
not, I don't wake up well. Okay, so knowing that you still struggle with this one, are there any anxieties that that you can remember starting to have anxiety that you've overcome, or that you kind of have like, I don't know, like saying overcome because I feel like it just changes. It's like a shapeshifter.
It That's the best way to put it.
But are there like any scenarios where you used to be like crippled in anxiety and now you can look back and go like, that's not even like your logical brain can kick in and say that's not something that we really need to be concerned with.
I mean, crippling wise, like, like, when I learned to drive,
Okay.
um, like, I was learning how to drive, I had vertigo
Mm,
growing up,
mm.
and so, spinning sensations it was on a different levels at times. And so I had gone through for about 4 to 6 weeks that was really, really intense, and so I hadn't been behind the wheel of a car because, the
But
world moving around you,
yeah, but
learning how to drive, like, you don't wanna
oh my
be
gosh.
too crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so Friday night rolled around and I had been feeling better and I was like 15. I was like, "Hey dad, can I drive like just around the block a few times to like remind my body how to
Mhm.
drive?" He's like, "Yeah, that'll be fine." And so he starts telling me, "Take a left, take a right." And we're going to like our neighborhood, but I'm not really paying attention. And the next thing I know, he has taken me out on like a 6-lane road. I don't know, like Beach Street, like
Yep.
on a Friday at like 5 in the afternoon.
Oh, man.
And I was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Around the block." And
Yeah.
he's like, "You're fine." I got through like two major intersections and pulled into a bank parking lot and got out of the car and I was like, "I'm not driving." And
Mhm.
I didn't drive again for months.
Wow.
Because I was like, this, I was like, I didn't feel safe. I didn't like, I'm like, I don't want to be
Yeah,
responsible.
that's no, that's scary.
Um, and so it was a sermon on a Wednesday night. Like I came home from church on a Wednesday night and it was a sermon on fear
Mm.
and not letting fear control your life. And so we got home and I was like, "Hey dad, can I drive our car up beach?" Now it's like 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. It's not
That's
5
not
o'clock
as
on a
bad.
Friday.
Yeah, oh my
A little
gosh.
different. To go get like tacos from Taco Bueno. I was like, "You want to go? Like, can we go do that?" And so I ended up doing that. I honestly try to think. I maybe didn't get my license. I can't remember if I actually got it at 16 or if I almost waited until 17 because I was like, I just didn't want to drive.
Yeah.
But I ended up going driving at that point, and then I've now driven ever since. I am try to be smart because I still have vertigo flare ups.
Mm.
Um, but like I don't have that like I'll never get behind the wheel
Yeah.
fear because like it was a solid 4 to 6 months I think that I was like
Wow.
I'm not driving. Don't you can't get me to drive.
Wow. What, and it was the vertigo, like, being like, having everything kind of, like
I mean that caused it. I think it was my dad like putting me in the situation he put me in that was like initially
yeah.
and like fear just gripping. I was like I can't. I won't.
Yeah.
And like I still have anxiety with driving. I don't love it.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's not my favorite. My Apple Watch will think I'm exercising while I'm driving.
That's
I'll
funny.
drive to my parents' house 'cause it's like an hour and a half away, and I'll have almost closed my exercise rig
Just
while
drive.
sitting on my butt driving through Dallas.
Well, that's driving through Dallas is
Yeah,
pretty
in my
treacherous.
15 passenger van.
I was gonna say, and you need to tell people what kind of car you drive now, because I do
Yeah,
think that that's like, it's not like, "Oh, I was afraid to drive, c and now I drive, like, a small little sedan." It's like, I drive a how many
plus.
passenger?
I
How
drive
many?
it's 15,
15 passenger
15.
van. That's insane, dude. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it, but y'all don't use all 15 seats, and it makes sense.
no, the back row's always out, so Costco hauls are easy.
Yep. It makes sense.
And then there's 3 rows for the 5 kids, so we can split and
Yes.
have spaces.
Yes, and that's important. Like, that's a very important piece when you have a big family to give
Yeah,
everyone their own space and not always be crunched up.
yeah, and then when cousins are around, we can technically fit, and that's, like, their favorite claim to
D
fame right now, is all of the cousins could ride with us.
Yeah, that's exciting, though, especially if you're
Yeah,
close to your cousins, it's like, "What? Yes."
yeah.
Um,
Oh, speaking of which, sorry.
you're good.
My, my sister's kids in Georgia called my boys this weekend and was like, "We wanna do a game." And so
Aw,
they're, like, mailing game pieces back and forth, and I
that's
just
amazing.
remembered I need to get the card in the mail,
Yes. Well, now you have to remember.
right? I will, like, send the link to Kara and be like, "I did send it, right?" Like, I'll,
Double
like, remind her with the
check.
podcast.
That's amazing. Um, okay, so is there anything that you do now after number five's been born that kind of helps you regulate? Like you said,
Um,
you remind yourself like that that's not how one, that's not how biology works. Two, it's not how it's not how God works. He's not
no,
gonna punish you with he's not gonna punish number five for
no.
your
The fears that I had. And the thing is, even through like the deconstruction and the like not wanting to be pregnant, as much as I would like wish or say things like, would it be that bad if this happened? Or would it
yeah.
be I consistently would be like, I prayed protection even in the midst of that of like, okay, like God, I don't know if I believe you're real, but I just hope that like if you are that you're protecting this life inside of me. Like
Yeah.
would be like a consistent prayer. And like it's a lot of reminding myself
Mm,
now of like I didn't ruin him. He's
mm-mm.
not broken. He's not even ruined.
No, no.
Honestly, he's the most unique, fun, crazy child.
Legitimately, if I had to pick one characteristic out about him, it 100% is gonna be his hair. He has the most fantastic hair. It's incredibly pretty.
It's beautiful curls
It's
and
so
he's
pretty. It's like
so
that's what
fun.
I would like. That's his claim to fame. Like I don't care about his cochlear implant. I think that's cool, but like his hair.
Yeah, no,
Like,
and the thing is he's so animated.
yes.
Facial expressions are out of this world. He's funny.
Hmm.
Uh, he already is like storytelling in sign language at times.
That's awesome.
He's a ton of fun. And so reminding like I didn't botch him,
Nope.
and it's a constant honestly giving it back. And this is super churchy. And as someone who has just recently come back to like claiming faith
Hmm.
in the last little bit, like I continuously just give him back to God. It's like
Mm,
he's yours. Like you are in control of the situation.
yeah.
You will provide what needs to be provided for. Um, and this isn't on me. It's on you.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's churchy. I think that's something that Christians forget. And when we say it, we're like, oh, that's such a church answer. But it's like, yeah, but that's the right answer. Like,
Yeah.
God gifted you with all five of your boys,
Yep.
and He has something special for them. Number five just happens to have a deficiency, as you called
Yes.
it. It's like where he doesn't just like immediately integrate.
Yeah.
Like everyone has to transition.
Yep.
And it's like, yes, you can I don't know. It's weird because it's like church answers are usually the right ones, even though they're cheesy and cringy. It's like but it is
Yeah.
like Lord, I don't know, why me? Why'd you pick me for this?
Yeah. God, this is my question often with my motherhood
Yeah.
journey, but it's
on
just
on your motherhood journey?
yeah.
That's yeah, same. I don't think that's an unreal question that many people ask.
Yeah.
So just constantly reminding yourself that I mean, he's not broken, but you didn't and with all of them, his birth brought the anxiety
Yeah.
and it is sustained through his
Everything.
life.
Yeah.
So,
Because there's questions like there's anxiety about motherhood for sure of like just
mhm.
different things and life events that have happened for my different kids and different things like there's anxiety, but his feels more innately tied to like my personhood than anyone
Yeah.
else's did.
Yeah.
um I feel like I'm gonna botch the other ones as anxiety. It's just different. Like it feels more like
Yeah.
normal motherhood anxiety
Yes.
with everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
whereas his takes on a different beast level.
yeah. Oh, sweet, sweet babies, all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I think those were all the questions that I had. Did you have any like encouragement that you wanted to add to
So I think when it just like we said at the last episode, like there is light
mm,
at the end of the tunnel. And like sometimes you have to ride the waves. Sometimes you have to like shift perspectives and look at from different angles and really inspect and introspect like
mhm,
why it's happening. Um because like there is goodness. Like there's always goodness and
Yeah.
gold. Um, th- Actually, you know what? There's a poem that I recently found
Yeah.
on the internet, and I don't know if you saw my story. And then she ended up actually resharing it. It's a writer that I follow,
Oh, that's awesome.
and she recently posted this poem, and I was like, I love that so much.
Mm,
And I like tagged her in a story. I said, I think I'm gonna memorize this next week, and I haven't done it quite yet. I started the process,
that's awesome.
and she was like, I have like been thinking about like wanting to memorize poetry more often, and the fact that someone wants to like memorize mine is mind blowing. That's kind of like her, like,
Isn't it funny how that works?
yeah,
Like that's just how that works. It's like, wait, what? My stuff?
yeah. But I was like, no, like this is freaking gorgeous, and so I'm
No.
gonna read it.
Yeah. It's
Um, because it to me it speaks to this like it reshifts my perspective. Oh, saved. There we go. Pulling it up on my Instagram.
nice.
Am I? Let's see. Why is this so difficult?
Because you want to read it.
Right? I'm like, this shouldn't. Come on. Oh, there it is. Okay. It it's the title is I will not spend my energy on the wish.
Okay.
I will not spend my energy on the wish that wounds will never happen. Cynicism and contempt are two lenses on a pair of glasses that promise protection but distort perception. There is too much to see to stay shadowed by the story of what I thought my life should be.
Mm,
Life is not fair, but she is both fragile and fierce. Like the pinyon pine, flammable yet full of food. And that's a different kind of fair. So when hope looks futile, I will take off my glasses and let the glare of grief change my vision. For there are gradients of goodness only tired eyes can see. I will not waste my time on a perpetual why, because my power lies in other questions, namely, what now and who am I?
that's amazing.
Right?
I think that's a incredible way to end to just like that's not a somber note. That's so encouraging. Like,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so that's by KJ Ramsey. We can tag her in the show notes
Oh,
later.
we are going to.
But yeah, like I'm not gonna spend my energy on a wish. And so like when I start
No.
to that's what anxiety often is. It's
Mm,
either thoughts of what you thought life should look like,
mhm,
or wondering of why did it turn out this way, and you're
mm.
pondering over and over and over. And so it's okay, let's sit in it. Let the glare of grief change
Yeah,
my
I
vision.
like that part, the glare of grief, like
Right? That
because
was me too. I was like,
it's blinding sometimes,
it is.
but it's like, okay, well, when you get your vision back, sometimes it's
It's so
so
much
much.
better.
Yes, it's like
Yeah.
well, it's like a forest fire. When you think about forest fires, it's like it's a complete mass destruction, and you look back at those places that have burned, and they are essentially flame retardant for years,
Yeah, and they're
and there's
luscious and
they are so much more nutrient dense,
mhm.
and so it's like that's a grief, like a loss.
Yeah,
So, man, that was good. I'm gonna have to you're gonna send me her stuff so I can start reading
I
it.
will send it to you because yeah, it definitely was one of those like when I saw it, like a friend of
Yeah.
mine posted like just one of the
Mhm.
frames of it, and I was like, "Whoa!" I can't remember which part it was, and so I went back and read the whole thing, and I was like, "Yes, like
Yes.
yes."
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing.
So, and that's what I
Well,
do. I sometimes will just sit in it, but
yeah,
not asking why anymore, and be like, "Okay, so
yeah.
what do we do with it?"
What yeah, not why me, but what do I do with this?
Mhm.
So, well, thank you for telling us your anxiety. I feel like sometimes it's nice to know what people are going through versus just a broad blanket term of anxiety. It's like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, and I think this is such a powerful way and tool of like knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially for me, like, the anxiety through the pregnancy, there was such shame. So
Mm.
if there's, like, women out there that are, like, are struggling with,
Mhm.
you know, I've even had shame of, like, why do I get pregnant when, like, there are people that I know and love who can't get pregnant?
Mm.
And,
Y
like, especially with that 5th kid, it was like, "Why? Like,
yeah.
why am I pregnant right now?"
Yeah.
I actually spent the afternoon or the morning with when I found out I was pregnant with number 5, I had a friend who had struggled, and I was terrified to tell her I was pregnant
Mhm.
because of it. And I told her, and she found out she was pregnant. Her twins are, like, 3 months younger
Oh, yay.
than Finley, but, like, yeah, but not asking why, but what now?
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.